Prostitution is widely known as the oldest profession in the world, but a new book by a renowned journalist in Canada says prostitution is the oldest oppression in the world. Victor Malarek has written and reported extensively on the sex trade, and he says it finally occurred to him women aren't to blame. He says the problem is men. This is an important topic, but it's also a very sensitive one. We strongly warn you this story is not appropriate for younger viewers. Look through the back pages of various newspapers, on the internet, or on the street, and you'll see young women and girls whose bodies are being rented out for sex. In his new book, Victor Malarek puts the spotlight directly on the people he says are 100% responsible for prostitution and the tragic lives these prostitutes are often living.
When I started to look at men's need for sex and all of the crazy myths that are out there, I suddenly realized it really is all about them. It's all about men. It's not about women. They're to be used, they're chattel.
What's more, thanks to the internet, legions of men from the West are getting on planes and engaging in sex tourism. Whereas Malarek found out firsthand, anything you want is available for a price.
How much would it cost me for a 16 or 15-year-old?
Well, depending on the amount of time that you want to spend with her. Usually it would be $100.
$100.
Yes.
One of my buddies, like he really likes a little younger, you know?
Okay.
Would you be able to hook him up in a cab to go wherever?
Yes, I will.
Yeah. So if I wanted to like film the 16-year-old with my buddy, would that would probably cost a chunk more cash?
150.
150?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Victor Malarek posing as a John. He says thousands of Canadians flock to impoverished countries like Costa Rica every year to buy cheap, anonymous sex.
You know, if I've got the money and she's poor enough and desperate enough, I'll use her.
Hundreds of thousands of women and girls are sold in bars and brothels to men who will pay for their fantasies to come true. Places like Cambodia, Thailand, and Costa Rica, where women are sometimes kidnapped, drugged, and sold into prostitution. In Costa Rica, using a hidden camera, Malarek visited bars and brothels to peel back the myths and behaviors of the North American men who pay money for sex.
I've seen so much sexy action all your life.
Just one long parade.
Your mind starts to break down every time. It doesn't.
But what about those who say, adult women, you know, I don't feel sorry for them.
Yeah, you know.
They have a choice. They can get out.
Yeah, sure, they have a choice, yeah. You know, so many of these men have said that if she didn't want to be here, she could leave. When you look at how many women have been trafficked and what they go through in what we call the breaking grounds, and where they are seasoned to become prostituted women, where they are beaten, where they are raped, where they are gang raped, where they are told how to move, how to dress, and if you ever try to escape, you'll see what will happen to you. There have been enough studies done on prostituted women around the world that show upwards of 96% would want out if they had the opportunity. Please let me leave this disgusting so-called profession if I only had a way out.
Malarek's research is consistent with a recent investigation by the United Nations. It's a global report on human trafficking released this year, the first of its kind. 80% of all human trafficking is for reasons of sexual exploitation, mostly women and girls. Prostitution is more profitable than the drug trade or the arms trade. It's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world.
This is a slave trade today. When you look at the number of trafficked women who are moved around the world from country to country.
Who's behind it? Who are these pimps? Who's trafficking these women?
Organized crime. Everything from, you know, the mafia to the triads to the Yakuza to the Russian mob to the Italian, you know, mobs. They're all involved. The Hells Angels are involved. I mean, there is huge money to be made off the backs of these young women. The one thing about Johns, they never ask. They never ask, how did you get here? Do you want to be here? Do you need any help? They never ask that. They go, take your clothes off and let's get it on.
And they convince themselves that it's an equal opportunity relationship.
Oh yeah, sure, because she's taking money. It's the ultimate conscience pacifier. Men are totally responsible for the sexual calamity that is going on around the world. About all of these young women who are being trafficked and forced into the sex trade. Men have a choice, and one of the choices they can do is put the brakes on this insanity.
Why do you think that there's still men going after these women for sex?
The flame that ignited all of this was that great thing that was going to bring phenomenal stuff to mankind. That's the internet. The internet is just ablaze. It's ablaze with porn. It's ablaze with all kinds of offerings for sex. No matter what you put on a search engine, you know, if you have a sore back and you put in massage, well, you're lucky if you find a real masseur. This has nothing to do with sex, this porn. It has everything to do with violence and with degradation and dehumanization of women. And 8 and 9 and 10-year-old boys are seeing this day in and day out. Men are tapping into porn like you wouldn't believe. They get themselves all roused up. And the first thing they want is they go out searching for a rented body. Even now, like I talk about some of these men who look for the girlfriend experience, you know. They want to be close to the young woman that they rent for the hour. Now they're looking for the porn star experience. And they're going out and saying, this is what I want. And much of what they want has nothing to do with sex. But it's
What does it have to do with?
It's power and control and degradation, dehumanization. I mean, look.
What do you mean?
Well, come on. Urinating on women, ejaculating in their faces, you know, beating them, using implements on them. That, you know, you look at this stuff and you wonder, how can you get turned on by this? What is it about this? And you see young boys now seeing this, and you're saying, how are they being educated?
So how do you stop it?
I don't think you can.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how do you stop the internet? How do you stop this flow of information? These guys know it's out there.
Why don't we do anything about this?
It's about men, and men still control. And it's probably the last bastion they control. You know, when you read about the men who are now going out in droves for prostituted women, you hear them talk about American women, Western women as the monster woman. They don't want equality. And so many men are so pissed off with equality that, oh, she stole my job, oh, she wants her rights and whatever. They want to control. And so many of them write about third world women. Never teach them English, never bring them to America, Canada, or Europe, because if you do, she'll be tainted by the monster woman, you know.
Is it because we fundamentally believe in society that men need sex?
Again, another myth. Men need sex. Oh yeah, okay, so you get turned on, you need sex. What I tell men is if you're so desperate for sex, go to the trusty right hand. And if you want the exotic experience, go to your left. It's as simple as that. Do you have to go out and, you know, degrade another human being?
And what about men who say, look, I'm not getting any sex at home, I'm keeping my family intact, and I'm, you know, able to satisfy my urges?
Or, you know, the dumb excuses that men give. Well, you know, my wife got fat on me after she had 7 kids. Well, look in the mirror, Jack. You're no bloody gift to anything anyway. What these men are not doing is working on their relationships or a relationship, which is key to everything. What you are doing, you're not satisfying anything. You know, they think they're satisfying a sexual need. You know, in a vast majority of cases, men who go after rented bodies are, very little of it has to do with sex, and much of it has to do with power. But those men who say that work on a relationship. But you know what? The vast majority of these men never look in the eyes of the young women that they're using. They just go in there and they put their $50 on the table, or their $100 or whatever, and you know, they get their release after 2 or 3 or 4 minutes while they deepen the misery of this young woman. But they always say, oh, I know she wasn't trafficked, I know she wasn't forced. How do you know that, you goofball?